Adria, your wellness fairy here,
And Dr. Joanna, your good health doula.
here to talk to you about the epidemic here in the States of food allergies and intolerances. Where is this coming from in our most recent past? Why are so many people intolerant to gluten, to corn, to soy? What is happening with these foods that we are having an inflammatory response? So, with commercial farming, with these large monocrop farms, what's happening, particularly with wheat, we'll talk about first, is they're coming through and they are spraying the fields with Roundup, glyphosate, to desiccate the fields for easy harvesting. So about a week after they spray the fields and the plant, the wheat, it dries out, they come through with their large combine harvesters to pull all of that wheat into storage. It's now shelf stable because it's all dried off. Well, great, it's shelf stable, but it is also severely laced with glyphosate, aka Roundup. We all know through the trials with Monsanto in California that it is certainly a carcinogen, but what else is going on with that? That's the big picture we see. We're seeing the beginning steps towards the cancers and things like that from consuming these toxins. And so with these toxins, our bodies don't know what they are. They're foreign. Glyphosate is new.
Right. Our body hasn't had centuries to adjust to the presence of glyphosate. When we're taking in glyphosate, it's creating a major imbalance in our gut biome. It's often creating kind of holes or ruptures in the epithelial lining, in the kind of soft tissue lining of the gut. It's creating the conditions that lead to leaky gut and lead to all autoimmune conditions. Basically, leaky gut is believed to be at the root of all autoimmune issues. And our body is in a place where it's able to recognize glyphosate specifically because it's not a biological molecule. It's not something that's been in our system for any period of time. And so it recognizes the gluten, which is always present when that glyphosate is coming in. And by association, the gluten becomes the enemy. It starts to make gluten the enemy, and it starts to create an inflammatory response to the gluten. And that's the basically early steps of forming these allergies. Something that's non-allergenic, you can only become allergic to it by association with something that is allergenic. And in this case, the gluten is kind of by association problematic in our systems.
Absolutely. So we see that with the wheat, we see that with soybeans, we see it with corn, we see it with oats. And so would you go out to your garden, spray it down with Roundup, come back a week later, pick it up and eat it? Not even washing it. All the residues are present there. This is what's happening in our commercial food system with our Cheerios, with our grape nuts, with our Quaker rolled oats. All of these foods that are ever present that we feed to our children and to ourselves are causing this disruption in our gut, and in turn causing these allergies to flare up and become greater and greater causes of inflammation, which is the root of the disease. Another way, or another crop that this happens with, is tomatoes. So you have these beautiful green fields of lush tomato plants with these ripe red fruits on them. And they come through with the same technique. They spray the fields with the glyphosate to desiccate the plants so they're easy to harvest. About a week later, they roll through with their harvesting tractor, their combine, and they collect all of these tomatoes from this dead, dry field. The tomatoes are intact, but everything else is easy just to roll through and to collect. And so now we have these tomatoes that are completely saturated in, again, this Roundup and this glyphosate. It makes for quick harvesting and allows for a higher profit margin. So when we're making choices in the grocery store versus a farmer's market or a CSA, let us consider, what is it that we're putting on our table? What is it that we're putting into our bodies? Can we make a more conscious choice to choose something from a farmer you know, from the CSA down the street, from the market during the summertime, where this is not happening and you're also supporting a small business and a family.
Or in your own garden with your children or with your family as well. You can certainly bring in a lot of these foods that maybe not wheat, but tomatoes.
Definitely tomatoes.
Definitely tomatoes.
Grow some tomatoes and basil and walk out there and eat them together in the summertime. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
And food freedom comes with that as well. The ability to make choices that elevate your community and elevate the availability of good foods, support local production as well, and that free you from whatever's happening at the grocery store. Certainly in the last few years, we've seen a lot of instability in the supply chain, and you know, if you have those growing outside of your house and outside of your yard, and you know 8 different neighbors that are growing them too, well, guess what? You're not at the mercy of that whatsoever. It brings us to a whole different place in how we organize our relationship with our food, our relationship with our community, and our relationship with ourselves and how we nurture ourselves. If you're feeding yourself poison, what do you think yourself thinks about yourself? It's not good. It's going to create disease.
And we are here to be liberated, free, healthy, and shine.
Thank you.
Thank you.